Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next episode of the More Magic Book Club podcast. Today, we are doing a theme episode and we are talking about our favorite high fantasy books. So, if you've listened to a few episodes, you know that I'm a big low fantasy fan. So, we needed a little extra help on this one because I apparently have not read a lot of high fantasy since high school. So, today we're joined by AJ Peterson, which you may remember from our live WinterCon episode. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so AJ, you not only love to read fantasy, high fantasy, and also fantasy in general, but you also have written it. So your book, Oblivion's Hymn, is high fantasy, and then the second book in the series is coming out this fall. So
Yes, it
now's kind
is.
of the perfect time to pick that up for anyone who hasn't read it. And I remember it has gods, and I think, is it music? Something to do with music?
One of my characters is a bard. And she made a deal with a god and didn't keep up her end, and then her singing voice was taken away. So there's a little bit of she
Yeah.
plays an instrument instead, but she's still very much trying to get that back. But yeah, music is a big theme in the book.
I love that, and I feel like bards are a central archetype of high fantasy that you don't really see anywhere else in any other genre or even subgenre. Am I right?
Yeah.
Not that I can think of. I feel like that sort of like traveling, like minstrel
Yes.
storyteller. Yeah, I can't think of another subgenre that has them really.
I guess Baldur's Gate, the video game, but that's like a high fantasy video
That's
games.
definitely high fantasy, yeah.
Which is, by the way, for those interested, I am a bard in Dungeons and Dragons. I'm an elf bard. That's
Oh,
always the
awesome.
character that I pick. So I always like the bard character because I'm like, wow, they don't have to fight. They can talk their way out of things. Like,
Hmm.
Uh, that's interesting because I feel like it's so yeah, I was gonna say magical, but obviously this is fantasy. But yeah, why don't we have that in any other fantasy subgenre? That's so interesting. Yeah.
yeah.
Or even in our daily life. Like I guess we do kind of have bards, but not like the way that they are in books,
Yeah,
you
we
know.
do have bards, and it's so funny. I was thinking about this as a Angelino, a lifelong girl born and raised in Los Angeles. They are super wealthy and are doing really well for themselves. Like the bards and jesters of the world are basically Hollywood. Plus, you throw in some business people in there too, who are the really powerful ones. But like, we
Yeah.
have bards in this world.
I
They're
mean, or
just
it's like the buskers on street corners and like
yes,
people who
they're not doing so
yeah.
well. They need
Not
more
yet.
financial support. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so well that's part of what I love about high fantasy is that I feel like you're able to bring in elements that just wouldn't work in our world because they don't, I mean, I'm sure once we talk through some of the books, they have even completely different societies. So in our capitalist society, we have to think about that like, oh, are you able to make money as a bard and survive in
Yeah.
our society? But in other like worlds, that maybe isn't a thing. And I think I really love that about high fantasy. Are there any because you two are much more versed in, I'd say the like more recent high fantasy. My like biggest one is like Aragon, which came out, I don't know, 2005 or before then. Um, are there any worlds that have kind of like those interesting structures that you really like?
Oh, many.
So yeah, that question is
All of
so
them.
yeah. It's a like yeah, every world is fascinating and unique
Yeah.
and so clever.
Yeah, I think that's my favorite thing about high fantasy is seeing how creative people get with the worlds and the magic and like what could societies look like if they're not tied down by our history and our, cultural whatever. Um, ooh, if I had to pick a favorite, so like the book that I always go to when people ask me what my favorite books are the Burning Kingdoms trilogy by Tasha Suri. So the Jasmine Throne is the first one. Um, it's like based on um like India and a lot of their history, but totally secondary world.
Hmm.
Um, the I think maybe one of my favorite magic systems. It's like plant based, but kind of sinister plant. based,
Interesting. Like a
the
Venus flytrap?
like the people are being slowly taken over by, they call it the rot, where their like flesh is turning into plant matter.
Oh
Um,
my God.
Freaky.
yeah, yeah.
Gross.
And you have to like you get power basically by like hollowing out parts of yourself to make room for the magic.
Mm.
It's really, really cool.
Ooh, is it
Um,
like gruesome though, or is it?
um, y- there are definitely dark bits. So it's very much like a sort of a revolution story.
Okay.
And one of the main characters is a princess who is like banished by her brother, who is very, very nasty. And she's trying to like retake her throne. Um, and the other character is part of this like kind of the lower levels of society that's been really taken over by the rot. And the two of them are doing their schemes and things. Um, I wouldn't call it a light read, but if you remember from our hope chat in the
Yeah.
podcast, that those tend to be my favorite. Um, kind of one of those like optimistic, uh, bittersweet endings.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but I just
Yeah.
think it's such a beautiful world, and not like anything else I've read before.
That sounds so interesting. I've seen it a lot, but for some reason, I thought it was low fantasy, like set in China. I don't know why. That was my vision from maybe just the cover. So I completely made that up and we'll go read the book now.
I
You were
think it's
close.
labeled as like historical fantasy.
Oh, yeah, maybe that's why I thought that.
Yeah.
That's confusing if it's in another world. I guess it's just inspired.
I mean, sometimes it's inspired. Yeah. You
Yeah.
were one country off, Demi, because I think they share a border, India and China. So you're so close.
Yeah.
Um, I think sometimes a lot of high fantasy is inspired by different aspects. Like I know Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn trilogy was inspired by medieval France.
Mm.
And so
Oh,
that's why
I
a
didn't
lot
know
of
that.
them have like yeah, a lot of them have French names. And it's kind of like the like France before the revolution, like the oppression of,
Oh, that makes sense.
the people before the revolution. So I know that but then like they take it and they make it their own and they put in their own twist on it. So and I think that's normal to be inspired by something and then just run with it and be like, yeah, like AJ, like what you said, like what if we just had a completely different historical context? Like the culture is similar, but the context is completely different. Even the laws of physics are different. Like what would that look like?
Yeah, I think a lot of times those books, I know especially like Jasmine Throne and I didn't put this on my list, but The City of Brass is also that sort of that's actually like technically in the real world. I didn't put it on here.
I really want to
But
read that one.
oh,
I
it's so
keep
good.
thinking about it. Yeah, because that's more like Egypt inspired or
Hmm.
in Egypt. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and takes a lot of influence from like the things going on in that time in the world there.
Mm.
Um and like I think there's a lot of parallels usually like to the political situation. But then you throw in like magic and gods and like a forest that doesn't want people to come into this part of the world and like all these different cool little things.
For me, like speaking of political, I think that's also another interesting thing is high fantasy when it like helps me understand something. Like it's a way to almost like process political realities in our planet. So like for example, one of my favorite books is Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. Have you guys ever read that?
I
Oh, I did
haven't.
read that. Yeah.
I've heard it's excellent, but I have not read it.
It is
Yeah.
really good, and it was my first ever African inspired high fantasy. So it's based in it's heavily influenced by West Africa, which was a breath of fresh air since I'm used to the like I said, like medieval France or something like that. And really the book is about like this dictator. There's this group of people who are magic. They're witches or they're magicians or they have some kind of innate magical ability. They also have white, stark white hair from the time that they're born, which I just think is cool. I was like, should I dye my hair white? When I was reading that book, I was like, because it's like white hair on dark skin, and I'm like, and I have dark skin if you don't watch the YouTube. So I was like, would I look cool with white hair? But you know what? I think I just look old. Um,
I went through a period with that where I wanted to dye my hair silver when like before Daenerys went off the deep end. Um and yeah, I don't think it actually works on most people in real
Yeah,
life.
it's a look. Like you have to have a certain look to pull it off without looking like, "Oh, excuse me, ma'am, do you need help crossing the street?" Like, yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so all the magicians have white hair, and so that's a marker, a physical marker, and he basically commits genocide against them. And this is one magician who survived. Her mom sacrificed her life, or I can't remember. It's actually been a while, but I
Mhm.
remember sobbing when I was reading that book because it was so like Tomi Adeyemi, who is Nigerian, it was so like she was able to touch on certain themes and able to articulate certain themes that I had a really hard time articulating myself, and it was very healing to read. I think
Mhm.
the second book just came out a while ago, and I really need to read it, but it's on my list for sure. I'll
Mm.
get to it, but it was a really good book. So that's one of my favorite high fantasy. And again, it was just unique because it was African inspired or West African inspired. And Tomi is also from San Diego, so she's a Californian like me, and but she's like a child of immigrants, so she has like that interesting like mix of like a Western perspective and then also the like her family's cultural historical perspective.
Mm.
Yeah, because I read that I think when it came out, it's been a while, but I remember really liking it, but don't remember like any of the details.
I remember crying, like, but remember, Debbie, we always say those are the best books where we don't really remember what happened, but we loved it. Like,
Yeah.
Hmm.
I remember crying a lot and being like, this is so right. Like, this is how I feel. And
Yes.
then I don't remember what was it. What did I feel? I don't know.
Yeah.
I think The Everlasting was one of those books for me. And I didn't read that long ago either, which is slightly embarrassing. My memory is just so bad. But
Well, I mean, that's the whole book is like, do you remember anything?
that's true. Yeah, it was thematic. Um, but I'm a sucker for anything written in second person. So whenever that gets thrown in, I'm like, oh yes, injected into my veins. Um, but the love story in that one, I think really uh hit me really hard. And also the like the propaganda machine also felt pretty relevant to the times we live in.
Yeah, it's funny because when I was thinking of high fantasy, I didn't even consider that one because in my mind it felt so close to reality that it was like our world because the political themes and the yeah, just all of that it just felt very close to home.
Yeah.
But that one really I loved how she portrayed love in it, which we talked about because we do have a whole episode on the Everlasting for anyone who hasn't listened to it. Definitely read the book first, before you listen. But yeah, I loved how she portrayed love in that, both romantic love, but also familial love, and explored like what it means to be a parent versus a child and like
Mm,
what that relationship looks like. Because she did that in a lot of creative ways, and yeah, I love that book. It just
yeah.
had so much. There,
That was the bit that broke my heart when they like I
yeah.
don't, this is a pretty recent book, so can we talk spoilers a little bit?
Uh, Maybe let's not spoil it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Because
The
Go to
the
our
the
I
the
episode.
think I know what
family
part you're
stuff
talking
is
about,
what
and
yeah.
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 It's I mean, Alex Harrow is one of my favorite authors, and she normally does, I think almost all of her other books are low fantasy. So it's interesting that she had that one as high fantasy.
Yeah. I think like you said though, it feels close enough to like I don't know, maybe like 80 years ago or so that
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like high fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was almost like if you were to take like the 1940s, like and then combine it with like the 1800s. Like in terms of like the political aspect,
Yeah.
it was like colonialism and imperialism of the 1800s, but with the fascism of the
Hmm.
1940s.
Yeah, but
And
then
then
also like the Knights of like
yes, and then you
Yeah.
throw in some knights from the medieval times. You have an interesting concoction there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was so fun. That was one of my favorite books last year.
Same,
Yeah.
Yeah.
same.
Broke me out of a reading slump.
And I have to say
Yeah.
the like writing in the second person isn't easy. Like I don't think that there's many like that because it's not like you have to be I always say Alex Harrow, like after reading a couple of her books, she's like a higher echelon of writer. Like she is so good.
She's so
She's
good.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
talented. Because like it's I think it's hard to pull off I mean, I'm not necessarily a writer, I'm just a reader, but like I think it's hard to pull off second person storytelling.
It is. I mean, the ones that I can think of that have done it are the writers who really know what they're doing, like N.K. Jemisin, Anne Leckie. Like they're really, really talented. And I think it's usually more like a framing device. Um, so you want to be really purposeful with how you use it because it's not how we're used to hearing stories.
Hmm.
But when
Yeah.
it's done well, it's really interesting.
When you guys were kids, did you guys do the like I'm thinking of my second person stories that I read. Did you guys ever read the R.L. Stein Choose Your Own Adventure novels?
Those
I
the
didn't.
Goosebumps, right?
Oh, yeah, Goosebumps. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
you are walking through this street and then like turn this page. If you decide to go here, turn to this page. If you decide to go here, turn to this page. Did you guys
It's
ever do
funny.
those?
I read like all Goosebumps, but I did not like Choose Your Own Adventure because I was like, no, I want you to tell me. I want the story.
As someone who didn't play video games, I think that was like the closest I got to understanding why my brother loved video games, like at that
Mm.
time. Now I love video games, but like back then I was like, this is what video games are. It's like you choose which way to turn. But
Yeah.
Funny. I don't think I ever read Goosebumps because I was and still am a scaredy cat, and I was like, oh, these look scary, so I'm not gonna.
they
I-
were scary.
They
I
were, yeah.
probably should not, like, if my mom had known what I was reading, she wouldn't have let me read it. But she's like, oh, my daughter's reading. Great.
Yeah.
Go like go ahead. I don't need to see what she's reading. Because I remember there was one that I read where it's a girl in the mirror who takes over the girl, like her the real life person because the real life person had so many insecurities that she was pouring into the mirror. And
Hmm.
I couldn't look myself in the eyes until like a couple years ago.
Oh my gosh.
I had
Yeah.
that there was one, it was called Say Cheese and Die, and you like if your photo was taken, it would like take your soul or something. And I was so they were scary. I listened to an interview with because I actually was at a conference and he was there and but yeah, I've listened to some interviews with him and he's like, "Well, I don't want to scare kids, so you have to like, I want to be scared but not like terrified. So you have to like work in some humor and stuff because they're kind of funny too. Like they weren't
They
just
are, but
yeah.
no, he also scared us. Well, it depends,
Yeah.
I guess.
So,
What kind of kids does he hang out with? Because I got scared.
Yeah, I
uh,
was definitely more of like a Magic Treehouse kind of kid.
or the what's the Magic School Bus. That one also. That's like I'm like it, I guess that would be low fantasy, but I remember they went to space in that. I don't know if you ever watched that.
I do. I think we watched those, and it was like when the substitute comes for school, they put
Yeah,
on like either
exactly.
Bill Nye or Magic School Bus.
Man, they just don't make it like that anymore.
They
Yeah.
really don't.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. So speaking of magic in schools, I'm gonna see if I can like segue. So I saw you have A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik on here.
Yes. I read that one pretty recently. And it was sort of like it was in the fall, so the atmosphere was great for it. I feel like dark academia is like very much fall vibes.
Yeah.
Um,
Totally.
but it's the main character is like very sassy in a way that is a lot of fun. And she's in this wild school where they like train magic users. And there's all these like precautions you have to take in order to survive. It's like a really low percentage of people that start that actually end up graduating. And she's really, really good at what she does. And there's this idiot guy who just like happens he like keeps stumbling into situations where he saves people, including her, which is like irritating to no end because he's the one who keeps getting all the credit for it. But he's like so oblivious that you can't even be mad at him about it. It's a lot of fun. And there is a lot of exposition in it, just because like the workings of the school and all of the monsters in it and like the things they have to do are kind of complicated. Um, but it's delivered in a way that's really digestible and fun.
Mm.
Um, and I think there's a sequel, which I have not read. Um, but I would be interested to see what happens like post that they start the year, like at the beginning, to start the book at the beginning of the school year, and then you end it with graduation. Um,
Mm.
so I'd be interested to see what happens once they actually get outside.
Sounds interesting.
I've
Yeah.
heard like some people in my book club have said this is their favorite. It's like the pinnacle of magic school is like this book, A Deadly Education. So I haven't read it, but yeah, a lot of people have really hyped it up. So I want to read it because I think that do a lot of students die? Am I making that up? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they do.
Yeah.
It's very dangerous to be there.
Hence
And the
the
parents
title.
let their kids go?
Yeah, I think it's well, because if you make it out, it's like very, very prestigious and you can get, a job at very high muckety muck magic places or whatever.
Must be a certain type of parent.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if that's like what we were talking about earlier, like different cultural kind of situation molds the characters. But yeah, I mean, I always thought that about a lot of magic schools. You're like, you really letting your kids run
Yeah.
amok in a situation like this? Like, what are the adults doing here?
That is true. That is true. And you can't think too logically about boarding
Yeah.
school fantasy. 'Cause, yeah, yeah. Like in real life, like in Harry Potter, no parent would have let their kid go there as soon as like Voldemort was back. Like, come on.
Yeah. Or
Like,
like the lightning thief. Like the things that went on in Camp Half-Blood were
yeah.
probably not not somewhere you want to send your kids to.
Wait, were all the kids sons of gods? Am I making that up?
Yeah, they're
Okay, yeah.
demigods, so they're like
Okay.
half
That's what I
Yeah.
divine,
thought.
half
Yeah.
human.
I'm actually watching it on Disney Plus right now, season 2, and it's really good. I read the books a long time ago, and Rick, the author, he hated the movie so much that he like
Oh
got the
yeah, the
rights
movie was
back.
rough.
Yeah. He like got the rights back and he's like, if you want a show, I have to be on it. And you know what? It's pretty good.
Oh, I should
Like,
watch it. I
yeah.
kind of like the movie, but like I haven't read the books for a long time and like was sick one day and watched the movie. And it was
The
good.
movie is fine if you just completely separate it in your mind from the books. Like it's a
Yeah.
fine movie, but he obviously can't do that and he was very mad. He was like, "You've ruined my work." So, yeah.
Wow.
Well,
Yeah.
speaking of exposition, like I know AJ, you and I were talking about ML Wang or Wang.
hmm
You want to tell me about her book? I'm reading one of her other books right now.
Yeah, so I'm only like 100 pages into Blood Over Brighthaven, but it's really, really good so far. It's very much it's another dark academia thing, but sort of like
Oh.
women in STEM vibes. There's a like a test to become a high mage, and there's only like one woman who's allowed to take the test once every 10 years because they consider it a waste of time to even test women because they're just not as magically capable as men. And our main character goes and takes the test. And spoilers. Passes with flying
Yeah.
colors, and then it thinks that she's gonna be entering this place of like learning and respect and intellect, and people are still really crappy to her.
Mm.
um so she's kind of like, well, screw you, I'm just gonna do my work so well that you have to respect me. But that's like the book first chapter is completely different than all of that. All of this takes place in like a literal bubble of the city that's protected by this barrier that keeps out this thing called the blight, which is you get to see in the first chapter, very nasty. And we don't know anything about it or like where it comes from or what causes it to latch on to people and things. You just see it starting to like consume these people as they're fleeing across the lake, like this frozen
Ooh.
lake toward the barrier.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, very intense. And the magic is sort of um it's tied to like almost a typewriter-esque thing, where you have to like type out a spell and it accesses this thing called the other realm. So you have to like pull magic from specific points within the other realm to like siphon energy to do the thing that you want to do. And it's very precise. Otherwise, things can go very badly wrong. So there's a lot of explanation about that. But it's really cool and it's delivered in a way like as she's taking the test, you're kind of like seeing through her eyes how all this stuff works. So I'm really excited to see where the rest of this book goes. I don't imagine it's going to be a very happy story for a little
Yeah, with the
while.
blight, that,
Yeah.
that sounds like
It almost reminds me of like the wildebeests in Africa. You know how they like rush toward again like across the river and then like the lions come.
yeah.
That's like
Or like
the
the
images.
crocodiles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's just like all these wild animals like out for blood and like that's kind of what you were that was like the image you were evoking was like the safari. Wait, not the safari. What's it called?
The savannah.
Thank you, the savannah, like the wildebeest rushing to make it through the river before they get eaten. I think Emma Long is a really interesting writer. I think too, like women and like people is because I'm reading one of her current books right now is Sword of Kaigen, and it's really good. And same thing, like they live in this kind of culture that women aren't supposed to be good at like the like warrior magic is what the like world is like a lot of like like innate softer warrior magic, but one of the moms it's revealed is like an amazing warrior magician, but she has to like kind of like hide it and just play the good wife.
Mm.
But she could actually beat anyone up. Like she's like she has like this cool past, and like I'm still reading it too. But so I think that's like probably a common theme in her works. And but like AJ, you and I were talking about this is sometimes when with high fantasy, I am reading it and I'm probably gonna finish it, and then I'm gonna have to read it again to understand what I read. Because like the magic system is confusing the like with high fantasy you get thrown into a whole new world, sometimes like different laws of physics, different cultures, different rules, different like everything, and you don't want to do too much exposition because it'll get boring, and I think she does a good job of like weaving that line. But sometimes if you do less exposition, you're like, what was that magic word that they just used? And like, what does it do again? And so like you read it because you're interested in the plot, but then you have like, and I realize I do this a lot. Like all of my high fantasy books I've read twice at least. Because by the time I
Oh,
get to
wow.
the second time, I understand the magic system so much better now, and now I can appreciate the magic system. Do you
Mhm.
guys are you like that too?
That's
I'm not a huge rereader. Usually I think usually you can kind of get the vibe of the magic, and then the exception to this might be Brandon Sanderson, where like you kind of do need to know the specifics. But where like the how the magic works is very central to the plot, but a lot of times it's not. Um
Yeah.
and you will kind of learn as you go and pick up on what's actually important in the things that they're like that they repeat doing. Um but I think you catch more on a reread, obviously. And I'm sure that's true of like of how the magic works and all the little like fun things that the author has really thought through, and you're just kind of like
Yeah.
vibing the first time.
hmm
Especially after doing so many author interviews, I realized like authors do think it through. Like it's nice, it's good to appreciate what they've all that hard work. Like they've thought through, and I mean I'm talking to two authors right now. So but like yeah, you all since y'all sorry, I my instinct is to say you guys because I'm a Californian, but y'all but you people
You people.
are like work so hard for every detail is thought through, and so I want as a reader I want to take the time to appreciate it.
hmm I think that that's an interesting point because I've spoken to a lot of people who are intimidated by kind of like classic high fantasy because like in the sense that it's not like romantasy, for example, because it can feel really overwhelming when you're thrown into that world and you don't know what's happening. And I think for people, like when you read a lot of fantasy, even in low fantasy, sometimes I can think of a few books, but you're just like thrown in and then you just have to be like, okay, I'll believe you. Like this is, this is
Yeah.
happening and this is magic and it seems to work. I'll trust you. And it can be intimidating if you haven't read that type of fantasy before. Or that type of book before. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's a good point that like it's okay if you want to reread it or if you want to just be like I don't remember a lot of details, so I'll just be like, okay, I'll trust you and then just like enjoy the ride and that's what I'm
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah. There's a certain amount of buy-in, I think, in high fantasy that maybe most other genres don't have, or you have to trust that the author knows what they're doing and that you will understand it as you go.
Hmm.
Um, I am kind of a fan of that sense of like wonder and confusion. I think it's one of the most charming things about the genre. But I know it is some people aren't a fan of being confused in their media, and that's okay.
Well, that's a good question for both of you is on this list, what do you think would be the best entry level for someone who is new to high fantasy and they want to get their feet wet?
Hmm. Well, I mean, technically it's Portal Fantasy, but I have Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab, because the main character is in another world. Have either of you read it?
A long time ago, I think.
Yeah, it's
That's
like
the one
10
with like
years old, I
multiple
think.
Londons, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the premise is that there's four Londons. So one of them is our London, which is very lightly featured in the series. And then there's three other Londons and there's magic and the other worlds have magic. So that's a great one because you get to see a little bit of our world, but then it's like in these other worlds there's magic and it is kind of central to the plot too, the magic. Um, so I love that one. That's one that I recommend for anyone. Like anytime I have friends who are like, "Well, I want to read fantasy, but I don't know where to start," I'll recommend this book or Vicious by her, which I don't I would consider low fantasy, but it's like a made up city, but it feels like our world. So yeah, so maybe not that one, but
Mm.
although the Everlasting, thinking
I was
about
gonna
that one,
say,
yeah,
yeah, things that feel really close to our world that are like familiar enough that you can kind of like assume a lot, I think.
yeah,
So Everlasting, I think Isle in the Silver Sea, also by Tasha Suri, is another good one where it's sort of that same like uh fascist government kind of thing. And it's like the Isle is sort of like Britain. But not.
mm.
And the government is trying to control like what stories are told, and the stories are like the thing that keep the island alive.
Ooh.
Very, very cool. I feel like that book and the Everlasting go really well together.
Oh,
It's
okay.
not exactly time loops, um, but there is
Huh.
like every like stories kind of inject themselves into people and then they become those characters, and then when they die the story finds a new host basically.
Oh
Ooh.
my gosh, that's almost scary. I don't.
Yeah.
it's
Like
it's
a story,
actually
like stories
the
are a villain.
no, I phrased that badly. But there is
It's
sort
a
of an
good thing.
element
So
of
it's a good
like,
thing.
depending on the story,
Yeah,
there
that's
is
what I was
sort of
thinking.
an element of like uh finding your own like fate in this predetermined
Mm.
thing. Um,
Ooh, I love that.
yeah, and also there's a big like one of the characters is comes from outside of the aisle. So she's an immigrant and they're not supposed to be people who become parts of these stories, but she does. So there's a whole plot around that that's really
I'm
interesting.
sold. This is
Yeah.
so interesting. Like, what an
Yeah.
interesting concept.
I've never even heard of this. Which one was this? Isle in the Silver Sea?
Yeah, it's fairly new. I think it came out like the end of last year.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it sounds really good.
Yeah. She's an auto buy author for me. I love everything that she writes.
Is everything high fantasy or is this the main high fantasy?
Um, I think so. I know she has her novels are all high fantasy. Empire of Sand was her first one, and then
Oh, I've heard of that
the
one.
Jasmine Throne, it's all high fantasy. And I think she has like a novella or something that's like a oh, I forget what kind of retelling it is, but it's like a historical romance that's retold. And I I think is like either queer or desi or both. I've
Mm,
forgotten now. Um, but yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely love her.
interesting. Okay.
For me, my entry into high fantasy was The King Killer Chronicles by Patrick Rothfuss.
That's a
Uh,
big, a
Yeah.
big step up.
and it was because, like in 2020, when my husband and I were bored, we just started looking up like, best fantasy books of all time, and obviously The King Killer Chronicles was the one that came up. And that was like, yeah, that was my entryway into being like, whoa, this genre is crazy. And
Hmm.
I feel like it was, I will say, I'll defend it and say that I think because Patrick Rothfuss is a bard and the main character is a bard, like he is such a, every word has been crafted to
Hmm.
like almost near poetic levels. You won't get bogged down by like I guess for me depending on everyone's different, but I didn't really get like confused at all. Like I was able to follow along. There was mystery.
Mhm.
There was so much mystery. Like he has like so many secret clues that he has to this day yet to wrap up and give us a satisfactory answer to. No pressure, Patrick. I know you're going through stuff, but like yeah, he like I feel like it is a good entryway if you're someone who can have the buy-in, you just don't want to get confused. I do think that the King Killer Chronicles is a good entryway because it's also just
Mhm.
fun.
With the
However,
caveat that it's an
yes,
unfinished series and has
yes,
been unfinished for a
like
while
A
now.
while.
decades. I think decades, and I think if you look him up on Google, it says like his title is retired author. So
Ooh.
yeah, so you would read it knowing that you will never get the answer. Probably
Yeah.
like upon his death, they'll release the manuscript or something. But
Yeah. They're also like door stoppers if
Yeah.
yeah, so just know that going in that you have to have the
yes,
stamina.
yeah, definitely. A lot of these books are you have to have the stamina, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Like they're not easy reads. They're not for the faint of heart.
Yeah. But they're worth it. They're so worth
100%.
it. That
Oh yeah.
payoff. Oh,
Oh yeah.
Speaking of like, I guess I actually haven't read it, but have either of you read, is it The Wheel of Time?
No.
I haven't
There's
attempted,
I
no.
No,
Because
I
that's
know
pretty
Brandon
long, right?
Sanderson finished it. He like the author died and the wife
Yeah.
chose Brandon Sanderson to finish it. But there's like themes of violence against women that I read. I always have to like check before to see if there's like
Yeah.
violence against women, and there is. So I was like, oh, maybe one day, but not today.
So I had multiple people tell me that it's worth reading because it's exploring that. I haven't read the book, so I could be wrong. But like, yeah, that it kind of there's more hope in it than I because that's why I had stayed away from it. So anyway, so yeah, but I've heard it's very long and kind of that classic fantasy, high fantasy, because it's another world too. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, because that's the
Yeah,
whole thing that they have
yeah.
magic and yeah,
There's a show about it right now too. I think on Amazon Prime.
Yep, it got canceled.
Oh,
Very sad. It
oh
was, I thought it was, having not read the books, I thought the show was great. And Rosamund Pike's in it. So that
ah,
has to mean that it's wonderful.
yeah. And I don't know why did it get canceled.
I guess I don't know if I feel like if shows aren't performing like super crazy well these days, then they just get
mhm.
let go.
Yeah, I also think high fantasy shows have a really, really high budgets,
Yeah.
so they have to have a really high like viewership to have a ROI. Like you can't
Yeah.
like, it's not like a low budget show. I don't think
Yeah,
it's possible to do high fantasy low budget.
No,
yeah,
I don't
even
think
just like
so.
the costumes and stuff would be
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Oh, well, okay, I won't start watching the show.
But maybe I'll read it. But maybe I'll read it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting you have Jade City by Fonda Lee on here. I totally thought this was low fantasy too. I haven't read it, but so I'm learning that I'm just miscategorizing a lot of books in my brain and that's what's happening. But yeah, so that one is high fantasy.
Yes, it's another one that's like very takes a lot of inspiration from our world, so that maybe why it feels low fantasy. It's also it maybe would classify as like urban fantasy,
Oh,
um,
okay. Yeah.
where it's very much like I think she pitches it like Chinese Godfather. Um,
Sold.
yeah, and their magic comes from jade, um,
Ooh.
but only and like so you wear your magic. But there's also like I think if you put on too much, that's like you have to kind of train your body to be able to work with it. And if you wear too much jade, it can make you sick. Um, I think there's also like some addiction things that can happen with it. It's been a while since I've read it.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, and I think she also has a background in economics. And that, if I remember in the second one, I feel like really you can tell because she gets really into like the trade routes because it's only like this island that the jade comes from and everybody
Wait, that
wants
sounds interesting
some.
though.
Yeah, it was, I
Like
mean,
fantasy, like economic fantasy. That's so cool.
yeah, it's and one of the characters that is kind of her job, like she she's like the younger sister of the family, and she takes a lot of responsibility with like the money that flows in and out of the gang and the
Mm.
island.
I mean, I love everything that you just said. Like first, urban fantasy, I realize is something that I really enjoy that I don't see enough of. So I love to see more of that. And then it's urban fantasy set in like more Asiatic inspired, which
Hmm.
is cool too. Like I would love that. And then like you said, economics of a fantasy, like fantastical goods and like fantastical economic system, it was even more interesting. This might be, I don't know, AJ, I feel really overwhelmed right now because I
I
want to read
know.
all of
Like
them.
I have so many.
Yeah.
I know, and most of these are series.
Oh
This one is
gosh.
finished at least. It's a
Okay.
trilogy.
Yeah. We
That's
should
a
do
plus.
that. Like we should do that at the beginning. Is it a series? And if yes, is it done?
Yes. Yeah, I think most of these are finished series. I'm looking at my list.
Yeah.
Yeah, except Everlasting and Isle in the Silver Sea are standalones,
Yeah.
which also I think makes some good entry points for high fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For my list, obviously, if you are a listener, you know that my favorite author that I auto buy is Brandon Sanderson. He's my man, my OG.
Classic.
Yeah. And he did not finish his books yet. I love his entire corpus. Like everything he's ever written, I've read it. Um, but the one that's like the high fantasy world that he has is the Cosmere universe, which has multiple series in it. None of them are done, but whereas with all the other authors like George R. R. Martin or Patrick Rothfuss, where we're not sure if we're ever going to see them finished, I am willing to bet not maybe not my life, $1,000 that he will get the series
Much lower
done.
stakes.
Yeah. And if he doesn't finish it because he dies, I'm pretty sure he has contingency plans in place so that the books will be done even after he dies. So I think it like if you are someone who doesn't want to get into a story because you're like I'm never gonna get the like satisfactory ending, Brandon Sanderson's the one who I'm like it's fine. Don't worry. You could get into it now. Don't worry. Unless
There's
Yeah.
you want to
also
wait until our
like
50s.
there's also like checkpoints in a lot of his series. Like the Mistborn, you have like separate eras or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And I think I have not read Wind and Truth yet. But aren't the first
That
five?
was the yeah.
Yeah,
The
the first
first
five in
five
the
is like
Stormlight
one
Archive.
era.
Yeah. Oh, that's another. That one I've been waiting for when I have the stamina to read that one. His books are long.
But so good.
Yeah, yeah,
To
I
me,
Yeah, I
that's
know.
the
have.
real world. This is the world I endure in the in-between times when I can get back to Roshar with the
Mm,
like
So there's Mistborn and the Stormlight Archive. Do they interact? Like, are they
there are
different
cameos
planets? Oh, there
from,
are. Oh,
they're
okay.
yeah.
working their way towards meeting each other. And actually, we're at the point now at the space war era now where they're like, it's
Mm.
implied that there is like almost like it's kind of like Star Wars, but like if Star Wars was much more fleshed out. Like something that always bothered me about Star Wars is the planets weren't fleshed out.
Mm.
Like, and sometimes you get confused between which planet is which, even. At least for me, as someone who like watched the six movies once or twice. Whereas
Hmm.
this, like every planet is so like gets its own series, and so they're all working their way. And so like basically the planet that Mistborn is based on and the planet that the Stormlight Archive is based on are the two big players, and they are at a cold war with each other
Mm.
interstellarly.
Mm.
But there's all these other little planets too, and they also get their own books. And so there's some good standalone books of these little planets that don't have that much like skin in the game.
Hmm.
The one, Demi, you and I, one of our first episodes was Tress of the Emerald Sea, which
Hmm.
was a standalone that's like a little planet that is of some interest, but they're not really like a militia or like, they're not really involved in the fight.
Hmm.
There's another one that came out recently called Yumi and the Night Painter, and that's probably one of my favorite Brandon Sanderson books.
I've been meaning
Did
to read that.
So good. So good, AJ. I think you would really like it. It has a classic Sanderlanche in it towards the end where like
Of
everything just
course.
comes together and you're like, oh my God, is this what drugs is like? But, and so like yeah, and it's that one is also heavily inspired by Japan and Korea. So it's like a like
Mm.
infusion of those two cultures on this planet that is in perpetual darkness, minus like these two lights. Like there's these two neon lights in the sky. One is electric blue and the other one is electric pink. So imagine a world where it's like blue and pink.
Huh.
It's like so cyberpunky, but like also it's just cool. Yeah, great. So I yeah, Brandon Sanderson's my guy. One day I would love to go one day I would love to go to the Dragonsteel convention that he has every
Oh, me
year.
too.
Then let's go cosplay. I feel like I would make some good like some of the characters he describes. I'm like, dude, I think I could totally be her. Like Tindwell from Mistborn, maybe Yasna from Stormlight
You'd be
Archive.
great, Yasna. Oh my goodness.
Thanks. Right, I'm in my 30s. I'm full figured. So those are really and yeah, those are pretty much the main two. Uh, but but yeah, like something like that.
So I wanted to ask you, for Brandon Sanderson to like as an entry point into that, because speaking of being overwhelmed with high fantasy, that even as like a fantasy reader, I am overwhelmed by Brandon Sanderson. So we're reading Mistborn in December for the book club. And would you say is that a good entry point into the world, or would you recommend somewhere else?
AJ, what do you think?
So, Mistborn is, I think, more, I don't know, it's not exactly an easier read. It's a little bit older and it gets really, it's like a really hard magic system,
Mm,
where like the rules are incredibly specific and they take pages and pages to explain them to you. But it's also like a really fun kind of like heisty novel. Um, I think that's if you're wanting to get into a series, that's probably easier than the Stormlight Archive. Um, but yeah, I think Tress of the Emerald Sea is probably the best way to ease your way in. Um,
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
I would
Which
say
is
read all his standalones. And
yeah.
if you're interested, then read Mistborn.
yeah.
And then when you're hooked, you move on to the Stormlight Archive.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you have an entire year or more to
Yeah.
dedicate to reading.
Yeah.
I always look at my Goodreads and literally like 2020 like 2020 and 2023 were all dedicated to Brandon Sanderson. Like I read all of his books in 2020 and then I read them all again in 2023 and it's like my whole
Oh my
year.
gosh.
Like a whole year of consistent reading. So yes, like you need a year. This is a time commitment. It is a
Yeah.
part-time job, but it is the best job.
I've heard the audiobooks are really well done as well. They've got like dual narration,
Yeah.
with really
Yeah.
good
It's like
narrators.
and it's a husband and wife team.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah, and there it is very good. Read it the first time around, and then I listened to it to set the second time around. And also, there are clues from the Audible, like from the audio, that you don't get from the reading because of the
Ooh.
voices that they use. Like when
Oh, that's
someone's
interesting.
speaking, they'll use the same voice, and you're like, "Oh my God, that's Kelsier. That's like he shouldn't be here. He's not in this planet." Like
Oh, that's so
yeah,
cool.
yeah. So there's some good secret stuff.
Mm. Are
Yeah.
there any other authors you can think of that do, obviously you can't call it the Sanderlanche for anybody else, but like that
I don't know what
moment
that
where
means. What does that
uh
mean?
so his books are really long, right? But there's always this moment where everything comes together and then it's just you read nonstop until the end because you're so engrossed and invested in what's going on.
Yeah. It's
Um,
like bam, 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 bam. Like
yeah.
all of the like the pieces, like the payoff is like so intense and so like so well done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any other books or authors that do that for you?
Hmm. I feel like one book that not high fantasy, and I haven't read Brandon Sanderson, so I don't know if this is the same. But when I read Upon a Starlit Tide by Kel Woods, I feel like the second half of that book was so fast and everything kind of came together like that. It was like I couldn't stop reading. Would you say it was like that,
Yes.
Marianne?
Yeah, that's probably the closest I've come to a Sanderlanche outside of Brandon Sanderson.
Mm.
Yeah. But in
Yeah.
general, I think it's like slow burn, which I think is like also very valuable too. Like the pacing, like keeping the pacing consistent throughout is good. It's just I don't know, it's like a special sauce that he has to be able
Is
to
it
do that.
what's it called? Sanderlanche?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Avalanche, but and Sanderson.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like, what? Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't
Well,
know how
now I'm
that
like super
term
excited.
got
Does that
coined, but
happen in Mistborn?
I
Yeah,
think so. It's been a
I
while
think
since I've
so.
read it.
I think
Okay.
so. I
I'm
think every
excited.
single one of his books has some kind of Sanderlanche. Yeah.
Because, yeah, I feel like that did happen in Tress. Yeah, it was very quick at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, like right when they got to the dragon, things
Yeah.
started to happen really fast.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Interesting. I didn't know that was a term. Like,
Yeah, I don't know how that came about, if his fan base named it or I mean,
It has to be Reddit. Someone on Reddit who's
oh,
clever.
probably. Yeah.
really, it was Marianne. Like, you just like created it.
If that were the case, trust me, you would know, and so would everyone else. I'd be like, yes, it is I, Marianne, inventor of the Sanderlanche. Yes.
You would have been at Dragonsteel already.
Yeah, I would have been like, where's my free ticket?
That's so funny. Yeah, that's like something that's really cool about high fantasy, which I guess happens with a lot of fantasy because I mean Harry Potter, but um in high fantasy there's the fans like because it's such a different world. Like I feel like you can get really into it and become very well, I mean Marianne, you know all of the details. And
Yeah.
and yeah, I feel like that doesn't really happen with other genres. I think it's pretty unique, especially to high fantasy. Yeah.
That is true. There's like a community element because like you're sharing
Yeah.
in this shared created world. It's kind of like LARPing or like D&D or
Okay,
like,
I have to confess, I don't know what LARPing is, and I keep seeing email subjects with it, and I was like, I don't know what this means.
Live
So,
action role play.
live action role play. Okay, so my marketing emails that are saying this, like,
Oh, probably not that then. I'm
no,
not
they're
sure.
reading that, and I'm like, wait, I don't know what this is. Okay, thank you. I don't know any terms. That's what I'm
I'm like
learning
trying to
today.
connect what marketing has to do with LARPing.
Yeah.
I think they were using it to like, it was like a subject. I don't remember. I'd have to find it, but I literally had like two or three in the past week that had LARPing in the subject. And I was
Oh.
like, is this some political thing? Like, I don't know. I don't know what this means.
No, it's a nerd thing.
Hmm.
It's it's like, people I actually where I used to live, there was this community of LARPers who would meet every Saturday morning with their night like they have these fake swords and like fake like chainmail and they fight and it's really intense. Like my
Oh my
husband
gosh.
tried it and he thought it was gonna be like, oh ha 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 ha. No, he got brutalized. Like it is a very intense, but it is a shared world. Like it's like a shared like fantasy world that you co-create together. And I kind of feel like that is something cool about high fantasy I never thought about is like the author creates the world, but we share in it and like we like through like online communities and things like that. Like you kind of like are a participant in that world. And maybe that's
Mhm.
why I'm like, oh yeah, planet Earth is just what I have to endure to like, be on my planet of choice is Roshar. So like
Yeah, I
Uh,
think there's something really transportive about it that you don't get in other genres. And like also this like cosplay element of it, which I feel like has been getting bigger and bigger over the past few years. You can't really I mean, I guess you can cosplay as like real life people, but nobody will be able to tell.
yeah. And it just doesn't hit home. Like, oh, I'm like Steve Hawking. I don't know. That's just not that interesting. Or like, oh, I don't know, like Maya Angelou or whatever, like someone from history. I don't know.
yeah.
That just feels like Halloween, or
Yeah.
like appreciation. But there's something, yeah, cosplay specifically. It's like I am that
Hmm.
person. Like I
Mhm.
am, like you could dress up as Stephen Hawking, but you're not Stephen Hawking. You're just kind of like paying homage to him. But when you cosplay, you're like I am this person, and like you will act like that person, and like you embody that person for a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah, that's
Right?
so
Right?
interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's kind of rude if you were to be like, I am Stephen Hawking and I will be him. It's almost like mocking. Like you can't do that to
Yeah.
a real life human being because it's like it comes off as rude, but you could totally do that to a fake character.
Yeah. Or like identity theft. Like
Yeah,
it's like
it's like the FBI is on your door and be like, we heard. Yeah. There's a
yeah,
cease and desist letter involved, the real person is like, stop showing up as me, you know, like
yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because, well, I clearly do not know many terms, so I don't know as much about it, but I think that I love that some of these characters and in these different worlds and they're going through these experiences that, I mean, most of the time, because a lot of fantasy seems to also be epic, where it's like, end of the world stakes, they're going through this very intense thing, and you get to feel that kind of like confidence and also like feel more empowered just reading it. Like if the character has magic and it's like, oh, like I get to like have that kind of yeah, I just want to say power that maybe you don't have in your daily life, which
Hmm.
is I think really beautiful and I feel like we all kind of need like instead of not I guess not instead of in addition to like going to therapy and working through your things, you can also
instead of
We write books instead of going to therapy.
we support mental health here.
Yes.
But yeah, so it's like another way to like kind of like role play and work through different emotions and different feelings, which I know we talked about a little bit, AJ, in the Hope episode that we did.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that about fantasy because it gives you the chance to, like you said, Marianne, like embody someone else, whether you're cosplaying or you're reading the book or you're watching the show or, whatever it is. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's probably another like unifying thing of high fantasy, other than like the secondary world aspect. A lot of it seems to be like the idea that there will always be hope even when things seem impossible is in a lot of these stories, and like
Right.
the fact that we can do anything if we do it together. Like,
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
That is like a key theme in almost every fantasy, like
mhm,
from Lord of the Rings to even
Hmm.
like Game of Thrones, like from like across the whole spectrum, that's like a key theme.
Hmm.
It's like everyone does their part, and you might not see how you doing your part adds to the greater whole. But when you do your part and you do the right thing, and like you try to have integrity and character, and you're brave, and even if it doesn't, even like if you're in that particular case, that person dies a horrible, ghastly, beastly death, like what they did carries forward.
mhm,
And like yeah, and like people build on it, and it is a very hopeful message like that. I think that is why I love high fantasy, is it's at its core, even like the dark fantasy, I think depends, I guess. I haven't read all the fantasy in the world, but the fantasy I read has like is like a very hopeful in its core.
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. I
That's
think
interesting.
even oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead. Well, I was just gonna say, it's interesting you said about how there's the community in the stories, and then there's the community around that too. It's like in having these stories where community is such a big part in these partnerships. Like we're then able, it inspires all of us to have community, which is really important today when, loneliness is so prevalent, and I feel like the world just wants us to be like separated and alone on our screen and like no and we're like no we'll like read our fantasy books and go to the Dragonsteel convention and go like have this community. It's like almost like an act of rebellion just to like be a part of the fantasy community.
Mm,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, well yeah, this is so fun. For everyone listening, I know we didn't get through the whole list, so AJ, you had a lot
I did.
of high fantasy books, which is amazing. So is there one on the list that we didn't touch on that you really want to share with the world?
Oh, okay. I like both of these so much, but I'm gonna go with the Lightbringer series by Brent Weeks. Um,
Ooh.
I think it has one of my favorite characters of all time, because he starts at such a high point, like literally the most powerful dude in the world. The magic system is based on like colors of light, and each color has different like properties that you can use it for, and like you can make it physical and use it to build things. And everybody can only use one color, but he is the prism and he can use all colors.
Wow.
It's
Oh.
very cool. But he starts at the top and he goes all the way down over the course of the series. Like watching him have everything taken away and hit rock bottom, and then he is able to claw his way back up. Um, and I don't know if this is a Sanderlanche exactly, but the end of that series, I think I was like sobbing for probably the last like 150 pages or so. It's just one of those moments where like you think everything is lost and all your work is for nothing and you've been fighting so hard and what was it for? And then like the riders of Rohan appear over the hill and like that kind of thing where like your allies actually do come to you. It was just and there's it's a huge cast of characters. They're all really interesting. But I think Gavin's probably my favorite, and the magic system's really interesting. There's a lot of politics in it. There's a game that's very similar to Magic the Gathering that plays a big part of some of the characters' relationships. There's just a lot of cool stuff in there.
Okay.
And that's a finished series. 5 books?
Thanks. Okay, thanks for remembering that. Okay, question for you.
Yeah.
If you were to give me one of these books to start with from your list today, what is the one that you would recommend that I start with? And for the listeners.
Mm. I want you specifically, I want you to start with Isle in the Silver Sea.
Okay.
Just because you were so excited about it. I think that's probably a good starting point for a lot of, if you're like just getting into high fantasy, that's probably a good one as well.
Okay.
Oh, I love that. I got chills when you were talking about the prism, that story. I was like, oh my gosh, like you cried for like the last 150 pages. That sold me. Anytime someone's like, I sobbed the whole time, I'm like, okay, I'll read that book. Unless it's like all of like everyone, like Game of Thrones, where just like everyone's murdered, which I have.
You know, good, like hopeful, happy tear, like I
Yeah.
was moved so deeply, tears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that emotional cathartic release. Like I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, those
Yeah.
are the books that I like. Yeah.
Same.
I love
By the
that.
way, Demi, just a quick update on Game of Thrones because I feel like I've recently started to finally develop an appreciation for it because I know I've bashed it so much. So AJ, I read the first 4 books and I was like, this is too violent. So I put it like halfway through,
That's
like I
fair.
was reading this particularly intense scene and I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? And I put it down and I never read it again. And I watched the first season of the show and again, I'm like, nope, can't do it. Recently, on my YouTube algorithm, it's been showing up like clips of Game of Thrones, but without the horrible, awful stuff. And so I'm like able to piece together the story without having to endure the horrible, awful stuff. And I'm like, wait, this is actually a good story. Like it's good. I get it. I get what he's trying to say now. It is a hopeful story because I've always been like, oh my God, he hates like I'm like, there's no hope and everyone dies. Like just like, but I actually get it now. It's like even when the worst possible, horrible, awful, god awful things happen, there's still hope. I'm like, oh, I get it. So anyways, if someone wants to read Game of Thrones or they want to know what happens in the story, but like they can't handle the violence, just go on YouTube and just type in like Game of Thrones clips. And it's like, yeah, I've really pieced together what's happening and it's pretty good. It's a good book.
Like
I shouldn't
turning
say
off
it's
the gore filter on the video.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like yeah. So just thought I would share that update that I have.
That's funny. Yeah, we need like a clean version of Game of Thrones for
Yeah. Like someone should piece it together. It's like, and then this happened, but they don't show it. They're just like, okay, this
just like a voiceover, and then
Yeah.
like a few people died, and then moving on.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Uh, yeah, this was so fun. Well, clearly we could talk about high fantasy for hours because there's an endless number of books and worlds and magic and characters, and yeah, this was so fun. I just have so many books now that I have to read. And Brandon Sanderson was already on there, but I'm sorry, Marianne, I think he's getting moved down.
No,
I cannot commit. And I'll put some of these other. I'll do Mistborn, but
Yeah,
yeah,
Mistborn's on the docket.
I'll take it.
but yeah, this was so fun. Thank you so much, AJ, for joining and sharing all
course.
of these wonderful recommendations with us.
I have
And
more if people want them.
well, maybe we'll do a part 2 someday. Yeah, this was so fun. And Yeah, for everyone watching and listening, definitely let us know if there's anything we didn't talk about that you love that's high fantasy. And or also let us know if you're going to read one of these after listening to this because I'm like, they all sound so, you do such a good, that should be your like professional job in addition to being an author is like summarizing books to get
Oh
other
God.
people to read them.
No, I have to look all these things up before I do these because I forget the details of what happens.
Well, I believed you. We were like,
Yeah.
so we're sold. But yeah, thank you. This was so fun, and we'll see everyone in the next episode. See you later.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.